Hey, VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. You're watching another Headspace, South Africa's most poignant hip-hop podcast. I say South Africa? Fuck no. The continent, Mother Africa yonke. Right now, we're doing another review segment. Reviewing a project that is pretty much a continuation of an episode you might have seen if you're a really fervent follower. We profiled an artist by the name of Mlamli who did a listening session earlier on right here in the Bay GQ at Gqeberha. And now I want to actually get to the album itself. Had some time to really listen to it, ruminate in all of the energy. So tada! Mlamli presents The Den, 12 tracks. And if you don't know anything about Mlamli, known for his eccentric, coarse, animated.
Turn up on my balance and then I I say Gazini, Bringlizi, Ibanda. I must have frozen overheard him say they way harder than we. Chile, begging like Charlie, let's have a good go, but then I say I Sule. It's okay, the ten the strongest Billy. Munga Suzumanga, Daily, they pick me dango, but my baby,
You know, lanky, fluid, flexible approach to Xhosa rap. Slings himself into different compartments in terms of his linguistic device, easily as smooth as any rapper in English, but has these potent moments of sparkly dialogue and street slang that just speak of an indelible street South African force and energy. Definitely one of the swaviest, coolest. He just oozes that thing most rappers want, which is the natural charisma, which comes from this place of believing in yourself and understanding how to work the devices of your own persona and character. That's Mlamli in a nutshell. If you don't know the dude, check him out online. His archive is prolific, to say the least. And The Den is the recent of an enclave of narratives that I feel Mlamli has been trying to put out into the internet to translate who he is as an artist. He is one of those rappers who does not do it for the hype. Believe it or not, he does it solely and primarily because it's a cathartic experience for him. And I think with artists like that, there tends to be a shunning of the audience. The thing is, if Mlamli doesn't give a fuck about trends, about stereotypical patterns of where the sound is, about industry tropes, he will disregard that. And this is what he did with The Den. The Den places itself in a place that makes me, as a music critic, ask myself a very interesting question. In a market that is so saturated and highly emphasizes music for the purpose of escape, and music that should be made to primarily be functional in club situations, music for quote-unquote good times, where does music for reflection's sake go? Where does the music that is made to explore our deepest and darkest parts go? Where does therapeutic music go? In a market that makes most artists feel that it has no place. And I feel like it's this kind of endearing insight into the question that pushes Mlamli to a place where the undeniable stress of being a young black man in the township led him to the decision to cast away all of the fans he had amassed for the purposes of his ability to be able to create easily accessible bops and club tracks, to just do something that's brutally and honestly about his pain and about his internal dialogue with himself. So first things first, this album has a capacity that limits it to the internal experience. It's headphone music, it's intimate music, it's any place where you call a haven for your own sense of settlement. Whether you're in your car and you're taking a slow ride, whether you're in your room and you're locked in and you're just kind of allowing yourself to drown in the music. This is not the kind of music that's made for the collective ecstasy of group fun. This is very much an artist seeking to have personal dialogue with himself, and as a result vicariously inviting the audience in for the ride, and you feel like you are alone. And the moment you press play and you hear these cold piano keys and off-kilter tones and these somber moods, and you feel the tones of where he's going, and it moves into these hi-hats that almost feel like a shaky trembling of his own inner fears, and it takes you through not the booming 808s but subtle bass lines that say I'm present, but only to kind of explore my own inner being. This this project goes from song to song in a way that profiles Mlamli at the center of the streets and the township. It opens up with a dialogue that you'd hear in any logishi about people really honoring the little that they have and doing what they can with what they have. And then it enters into Mlamli basically giving us a narration of his own small accomplishments in what is a plateau designed for his own demise. And if you know anything about the history of the ghetto, just globally speaking, let alone in South Africa, these are labor reservation camps that were made for the purposes of limiting the capacity of the growth of the people that are termed black. Now, Mlamli takes that moody pessimism, that Afro-pessimism, and he embraces it. The social death of being alienated in society and being seen as a non-existent vessel. He pushes through that and shows us a potency of rebirth. And the one thing that is special about Mlamli as an artist is his vocal tone is enunciated. It carries a bit of a rasp, but he speaks in a way that doesn't command boastfulness, but at the very same time it's buttery. It slides you into the dialogue. It smooths you into listening to this artist. He almost petitions for your ear in a way that leaves you feeling hustled and impressed, because he's like a street corner a hustler who's using the best of his wordplay and his sincerity to gain the access to your time by showing you that he values your time. And he does this and he pushes on, and I think this project tends to get a little bit landlocked in but by what I feel are the lack of varied melodies. The melodies live in this blues place. This is definitely blues rap. It emanates from a place of so much pain that I think the instrumentals kind of narrow down into a place where the sounds feel a little bit much like they live in one realm. And if it wasn't for a slight turn that it takes round about the track Ush Mamela, which is really a love song, where it opens up and kind of caves into a more psychedelic place. So now it feels like you've gone from Mlamli's heart and you're moving upwards into his mind, and you break away into a more vaster atmosphere where the instrumentals get a little bit warmer, the bass lines get a little bit heavier, and by the time we get to Virgil, which is what I think is the highlight of the project, because it gets to a triumphant tone. It says, regardless of all the challenges, I arise and I emerge and I am able to know who I am for what I am becoming. And it expresses that animated vocal range I was talking about, but it's more room. And I think it shows how Mlamli's key hotspots are definitely the moments where he's more playful. He's better to listen to when he's having fun. And so I think for a majority of a project where he's not, or at least the mood that he's rapping in is a little bit more introspective, the typical Mlamli fan might get lost. But I think those who move and allow themselves to have the patience to move with him on this journey will find that very same artist that they know, and they might be able to appreciate him even more for taking them on a ride that says, appreciate me more for more than just the good times. And so I feel that he does this and he's able to corner it back into a crescendo that says, artists have the right to use their music to protest the world and to say pain is a legitimate source of inspiration that we must use to embrace, open ourselves up, and allow for the art to therapeutically become a conduit for change. And if it means that we lose brownie points in the clubs, then so be it. And I think The Den is exactly that. Even the title, I think there's a reason why he names it after the backyard home of what is typically an animal. There's a reason why he names it after these dingy, grimy places that feel forgotten. Because that's exactly what it is. Mlamli came out of the club, he came out of the spotlight, he came out of your attention to lead you to the den. Which stinks, which reeks of pain, but which shows you that we cannot live a one-dimensional reality where we only allow artists to send us through the happy moments and we cannot acknowledge their full capacity as human beings. So just on the sheer conceptual strength of the project, it's way beyond the average mark. But like I said, it gets a little bit too late out of its monotony, and if it wasn't for tracks like Virgil and Shmamela, which thrust it up into a little bit of hopefulness, it would have been locked in a place that would have relegated it a little bit. So I'm gonna say ultimately 7 out of 10. That means it's a strong mark beyond average. It's definitely a contender for more than good but very great. But because of what it is, it wasn't made to be the project that showcases Mlamli's extension as he tries to kind of move himself out into the industry. That is not what this is for. This is a personal moment. And personal moments, to be honest with you, cannot be rated according to industry standards or even according to artistic standards. I mean, I'm struggling as a critic to sit down with this body of work because it reminds me that there are projects which escape critique because they're not made for it. So I am critiquing this only because in the marketplace, in the environment, in the territory that it works in, it competes with other similar expressions, and even there it ends up in a place that's far from forgettable. So shout out to Mlamli for speaking to the darkness, for speaking to the parts that need to be spoken for, because God damn it, kunzima emhlabeni.